All right, IP. I know, forgive me if my lighting's not great and all of that, but this is going to be for that repair on that stainless steel weir. So obviously you're going to get more than this in the box. This is just, I'm doing this just to show you, but you're going to get instructions. I'll have instructions for 5 people. You'll get an SDS just in case you need it, but hopefully you don't, but it'll be in there. I'm putting 2 of these wet out mats in there. See, I'll have them rolled up like this. You'll have a pair of scissors. I'll have the fabric pre-cut and labeled. So I'll have 3 of these bags with 4 1-foot by 4-foot long pieces. You'll get your acetone to just regular, just to spray on there after you do your surface prep and wipe off, just so you got a clean, dry surface. You get a pair of the scissors to cut the fabric if you need to cut it to fit. I'll explain that a little bit in a second, but you need to wait till you put the resin into the fabric before you cut it. So in each one of these boxes, you get your technical data sheet right here, which will kind of give you an idea of set time, but in Louisiana heat, you got about 30 minutes before you got to use this. So you get part A and part B. You'll get the stir stick. So mix one jar into the other, doesn't really matter which jar. And then you'll get a squeegee in each one as well. And I'll put a couple extra squeegees in there too, just so you have extra for whoever's putting it on. Now, ideally, you'll like to not mix these to where they're setting up on you, and you'll see that in the instructions. But I would probably mix 2 kilos at a time, so 2 of those boxes, and do 2 or 3 of those 4-foot sections, and then hand them up to the guys that are putting them up on the weir. But basically, you'd roll your wet out mat out. So we got that piece of plastic here. You got the it's just shelf paper, it's plastic, but you got a smooth side. You want the smooth side up, the other side so it don't slip. Put some tape down or tools or whatever you want to put down on it to hold it down. Then you'll take your pre-cut fabric, your 4-foot wide pre-cut fabric, and you'll unroll it and leave it on your mat. And you take after you've mixed your part A and your part B together good, you'll mix those 2 together, and then you kind of just scoop it out of there, plop it on there, and then squeegee it into the fabric until you don't see any white. This is gray in color, so you don't see any white. Then what you do is you take it and you flip the whole thing over. It's a little easier with 2 guys, but obviously you can do it with 1. Flip the whole thing over and then wet out the back side. Now, same thing, you want no white to be shown on the back side either. The mat itself gets pretty saturated, so on the first one you need a little bit more resin than you do on the next one, because as soon as you go to lay the next piece of dry fabric, it's already soaking up resin. So you're going to use a little bit more resin on the first one than on the second one. If you want to cut this when you're up on the substrate, trying to put it on the weir, just make sure it's impregnated with the resin first prior to cutting it. If you try to cut it dry and over, trying to cut it dry and make pieces, when you go to put the resin into it, it'll start fraying. The fabric will start coming loose. So you want to cut it wet. And so the person that's actually putting it on should be the person with the scissors, since I've got all those smaller pieces already pre-cut. I think y'all are doing a little bit more on one side than the other, so it doesn't really matter. The way I designed this is you're covering 16 square feet. You want 3 layers on that 16 square feet. So no matter how you get it, if it's 1 foot on one side, 3 foot on the other side, doesn't really matter as long as you have 3 feet over the through wall. I would like the 3 layers to be multi-directional. And so what I mean by that is if you had this first layer that you put down, or if you went 4 across and you had 1, and you had another one, then you had another one, you went 4 across to make 1 layer 4x4, the next layer I would want you to put on would go this way, so that you're sitting the opposite direction. I don't want fabric with the same weave laying right on top of each other. want it going the opposite direction. So on your instructions, you'll see one will say vertical, the next will say horizontal. It doesn't really matter. You can pick either one, but you want your 3 layers to be multi-directional. And then on your 3rd layer, you'd come back on your 3rd layer and have it go this way. So you'd have 3 layers going 3 different ways. Well, 2 would be the same way, but you get what I'm saying. They wouldn't be laying on top of each other the same way. The main thing with this is if you can avoid mixing this resin and putting it into this fabric in direct sunlight, that would be great, because obviously that's going to speed it up. The one thing where people fail, how do I spin this thing around? Hold on. Let me see, I'll just look at you. I don't know how to spin it around. But the one way that people fail is they'll start mixing all those jars together because they want to get it done quickly, which I get it. But if that resin's sitting in that jar and it's even getting hotter and setting up quicker than if it were spread out on this mat or in this fabric, because it's in a confined space and it's going to start heating up. So you want to only mix a couple of kilos at a time, but you want to kind of time it out to where you can hand those up and the guys putting them on the weir are able to put them on there and fit them on there, smooth them out pretty good. And then you're kind of mixing and wetting out the next couple ready to go up there when they're finished putting those 2 on there. So it might be a little bit of trial and error as far as how fast they can put them on when they're up there. I don't know your exact access or whatnot, but just know that you got less time if you let it and mix it in the cans and just let it sit there and you're waiting. You will have extra material, so you should have about 3 extra kilos, and you should have some extra fabric. I'm hoping that y'all can have that left over and use it on something else, but just know it will be in there if for some reason something gets messed up and you need it. We usually try to give a little overage anyway, just in case something goes wrong. Also, you'll have extra fabric. So I put some 12-inch wide, some 6-inch wide, 4-inch wide, 2-inch wide. If you have any places that you're going on the weir that 12-inch doesn't fit real well, feel free to use one of the skinnier ones that's in your bag too, but that'll be labeled. I'll have it labeled as stock. I do have a very quick YouTube video where I just did a little 1-layer patch on a trailer actually that had a piece that was messed up, and I did it with the ultra fast setting style of this product, but it's about a minute and it's pretty quick as far as, hey, mix them together, put them in the fabric, throw it on there, squeegee it out and smooth it out. And that's probably been on that trailer for years, but we do this all the time. We do it with carbon fibers, we do it with Kevlars, fiberglass is all y'all need for this particular application. But it'll work good if you get 3 layers on there and you get them on there pretty quickly and consistently to where they're not setting up on you, or the first layer isn't set up before you put on the second layer. You should make for a good repair that'll last a long time. That has a ceramic fill in it. You can take about 400 degrees, take a real good beating when it comes to abrasion and impact resistance, very good chemical resistance. So it's some good stuff. You could go back over it once it's cured and paint it if you wanted to, because the sun will damage it over time. But some people want to do that and some people don't. I'm just letting you know that is an option. We do carry regular external paint that protects against UV too, but I didn't think that was a huge deal for this particular application, but we definitely have it. So I'll actually be out of town that whole week that y'all are coming down to do this, but my 2 colleagues, Nick and Colin, will be available at least to try to help you over the phone or virtually or Teams meetings or whatever you need to do. I'll have both of them in South Louisiana that week, so their numbers will be on the instructions. If you need them, give them a shout, and I'll have my phone, so I should be able to answer if you do need to call me, but it's possible that I might not have reception. With that being said, please review the instructions, watch this little video. I'll put the YouTube link for the other one, and if you have any questions, obviously before we do it, then call me, we can go over it. If you want to get everybody together and we can talk or have a little Teams meeting or something, I'm more than happy to do that. Definitely thank y'all for the business and the opportunity to help you. Like I said, call me if you have any questions. Thanks. Bye.